You said you really wanted to talk about Manchester United on the show, didn't you? So this is your forum. This is your time to shine, Dean Ashton. I mean, what's going wrong with
it? It wasn't just the game at the weekend. Obviously, there's been many games that have been poor, but I sat and watched that game knowing I was then going to the Norwich game and I was going to speak to you and we might possibly talk about it. So I wanted to watch the whole game and also hearing it's Ronaldo's fault, and I wanted to really just sit and study and think, well, is it his fault? It's not his fault for a start. I mean, he's getting angry because the service is that bad. Now, when you buy Ronaldo, you don't buy the player that you thought he was 10 years ago. You buy the player that he is now, which if you'd watch Juve, he didn't take players on anymore and take 3 or 4 on and smash it in. He didn't score many from outside the area. His game was inside the area still. Great movement, sharp movement, delivery, goal. Sight of the goal, back of the net. That was his. That's what he's become. Manchester United basically are playing every other way except what's needed for him to get the best out. Why have the best goal scorer in the history of football and not give him the service he needs? So Rashford, why does he persist on trying to knuckleball every single cross? And it knuckleballs to the first player, or it's got too much pace on and goes, rather than being able to pick that pass, that cross. Why are Dalot and Shaw crossing from really deep when that gives Ronaldo a much less opportunity to get on the end of it and beat his defender? This is a guy with an unbelievable leap, by the way. He's not scored a Premier League header. What?
That's incredible.
That's incredible because you're not giving him the service. Sancho, jink, 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 jink. You don't know when the ball is then going to come into the box. So I don't blame Ronaldo. I think that they're not playing anywhere near what they need to get the best out of one of the greatest strikers of all time. And that's the same with every striker, by the way. I'm not just singling Ronaldo. Sure. Every striker needs the team to play in a fashion that will create chances for them to score goals. Now, players generally are mentally weak. Most of them. There's only 5% that are incredibly mentally strong. Most of them they've got a herd mentality. So it's not just 1, 2 or 3 players that Manchester United are struggling with who are struggling with confidence and a lack of form. It's 8 or 9, because if you're playing badly, it reflects on me and I get drawn into it and vice versa. And all of a sudden you've got 7, 8 players. You can't tell me that overnight these players are just bad players. And then when they maybe go away with their country, they're good players. Or a new manager would come in and suddenly that player looks better. It's because of the mentality of players, a very herd mentality, and it can affect other players if you're lacking confidence. So that's the big issue at the moment, is that they haven't got, I think, very many mentally strong players in that United side. And Rangnick doesn't help, I don't think, with selection. So it's almost as if Manchester United and Rangnick at the moment, it's like, we're like the Harlem Globetrotters. Let's get every single top player or big name in this side. There's not many teams across Europe that's the whole team is based around big names. So you get, Jesse Lingard is a player. If you want players that work hard, and we've heard people talk about, and Ralph Rangnick said Ralph Hasenhüttl has said they don't work hard enough. Well, you need certain players in the team around your maybe star players to do the job that others maybe don't. Jesse Lingard's a player that does. Donny van der Beek was a player that would work hard and to a structure. Mata if you put him in there, would work to a structure.
Yeah, but Mata
defensively
can't run as much as he used to.
But what I'm saying is, he's not willing to make big calls to put in certain players. He took off McTominay when they were trying to win the game. He took off McTominay, the only, and not the greatest, but the only defensive-minded midfielder, and the instructions went on to Paul Pogba, who looked bemused that he was then going to be sat at the base of the midfield, just to sit there. I saw whoever it was that said to him, who came on, said, "You need to sit in midfield," and he kind of looked a bit puzzled, and they never looked like scoring. It was Southampton that looked like they were going to. So there's strange decisions. I don't know whether Rangnick's strong enough of a personality or in his own mind to be able to tell certain players they're not playing today because somebody else is coming in because you're not doing the job I'm asking of you. Whether he's just too weak to be able to do that with the big names that Manchester United have got. There's just set plays. Manchester United are the worst from set plays. Think how many corners, free kicks they must have. And I talked about that desire to get on the end of a cross. There isn't that. That's down to players. Down to players willing to head that ball in. But I just think it feels like there's a real herd mentality at Manchester United of players just losing confidence because other players that heads are down. And where are them real characters that you need that are mentally strong? It doesn't matter if he's playing poorly. I can still, in my own performance, handle the pressure because it is such a huge football club, always talked about, always in the headlines. You know, as a player, if you make a mistake, it'll be you that's talked about. You've got to be so mentally strong. And I look at, say, Manchester City players and Liverpool players, and I think mentally, not whether you can run, whether you can track, whether you've got good ability, mentally, them players, I think, can cope with the pressure, whereas the Manchester United players, I think, are just feeding off each other and no one can stand up and go, I'm more than happy to handle the pressure.
talkSPORT Drive with Adrian Durham. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.